Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and YouTube channel. I'm super excited to have a special guest. His name is Hasan Merali. He's a doctor. He has a MPH and is an associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics, McMaster University, and a pediatric emergency medical physician at McMaster Children's Hospital in Hamilton, Ontario. He received his medical degree from Harvard Medical School and a Master of Public Health degree from Johns Hopkins University. His research focuses on child injury prevention in low and middle income countries. He has published more than 25 peer-reviewed journal articles, and his work has been featured in the New York Times, BBC, CNN, Science, Medium, the Boston Globe, NBC, CBC, HuffPost, and Popular Science. In 2024, he published his first book entitled Sleep Well, Take Risks, Squish the Peas, Secrets from the Science of Toddlers for a Happier, More Successful Way of Life. Welcome, Hassan. Nice to have you on the show. So
Thank
excited.
you. It's nice to be here.
Wow. That's a mouthful, that book. What inspired you to write this book?
Oh, I'm very, very fortunate. As a pediatric ER doctor, I get to work with children in my entire clinical practice, and been doing this for about 15 years now since residency. And the little people who really stand out to me the most have been toddlers. It's just so
Wow.
much fun to be around them, even when they're sick. They're still trying to make jokes. They're still demonstrating more kindness, I think, than anyone else. And they're taking risks, and that's why they get to see me sometimes fixing fractures and fixing cuts. But they're inspiring little people. And two reasons I wrote this book. One is that I think they sometimes or often get a bad reputation, and this horrible term, terrible twos, it just doesn't apply to them. And I really want to change the narrative and really put the data behind who these people are and what they're actually about. And my argument's actually very different in that I think they're among the best people in society. And number
Mm,
two, I think they're so great that they offer us lessons that we can learn from them. So this book is really about showing the world how great they are. And number two, learning from them because, a lot of what we talk about in all spaces, whether it's academic or parenting or anything, is about what we need to teach kids. And this gets drilled into parents because I know your audience are parents a lot, and that's important. And of course, we need to teach them a lot of things, but what gets missed is what we learn from them because they do a lot of
yes.
things much better than adults. And if we were to act like them in a lot of ways, our lives would be better.
Yes, yes. I'm on 100% agreement that our kids teach us so much. And I think that's where we need to have humility, right? We need to be humble
Hmm.
because maybe, back in the day, we grew up with our parents knew everything and we know nothing, right? But actually, that's not the truth. The truth is our
Right.
kids know a lot and they
Yes.
can teach us a lot. Okay, so why do you think parents find the toddler year so difficult and how are toddlers' brains different from adults?
And I think the main thing that comes up, and it's true, there's tantrums. And so, these are developmentally normal episodes that happen. I think what's important is to put them in context. And so, if you look at the data around tantrums, it's very clear that they're pretty short on average. So the median time is 1 minute. For for some kids, it would be longer. Getting up to 10, 15 minutes, this is a very, very small number of toddlers. We're not getting past 15 minutes, but even if they were, let's say it's less than 5% of toddlers. So 95% don't even get nearly that much time in their tantrums. Usually it's, around the 1 minute range. And they happen once a day. And they're awake for 12 to 13 hours. So if we just put that into context, they're awake for 12 to 13 hours. Worst case scenario, 15 minutes of tantruming. What do they do for all the other minutes that they're awake? They're laughing,
Mhm.
they're playing, they're building relationships, they're learning better than anyone else. And so
Yes.
I think that's one thing that we all need to keep in mind. And the other thing I think it's helpful is to get to your question about how their brains are different. They're forming synapses, these little connections in our brain faster than anyone. They're just learning machines. And they don't have all of these pathways that we have as adults, which are very efficient. And so what that helps them with is that they just get a broader perspective, and that kind of slows down their lives, which is, I think, nice. Like I remember walking with my daughter. She's 5 now, but when I was taking her to daycare, when she was 2, we'd walk along and we'd stop, and she'd ask questions about something in the grass. There was a lot of questions about the clouds, and that walk took 3 or 4 times longer than it would have for me because I'm an
Mhm.
efficient person with an efficient brain, but their brains are not like that. They just think very differently, and I think it's very special.
Yes.
And the other thing, very important, maybe the most important, is that they don't have a developed prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of our brain that helps us plan things. And so just keep in mind that these little ones, they're not thinking about tomorrow. And they're not even thinking about maybe later in the day. They're just
Mhm.
here and now in the moment. And that's what they care about. And that's where we need to meet them. And I think that that is a very special way to be. And you see all this adult wellness literature live in the moment. But these people
Yes.
actually do live in the moment.
Yes. That is that's so good that it, for us to understand that, right? Because I think we think they're like little adults, but they're not,
Not at all.
right? Wow. So good. Okay, so the research behind, can you tell us a little bit more about the research behind toddlers and kindness?
Yeah, so hands down, and I stand by this after reviewing this 20 years of data, I'd say writing this book is that toddlers are the kindest people that we have in the world by far. And so I'll just give you one example. It's a good one. There's so many studies of this. And so how they act with strangers acting selfishly. And we can just, as I'm going through this, maybe think about yourself. If you had a stranger acting selfishly, would you be nice to them or how would you act? So in toddler world, you know this because you've had two. Um, very, very high value items are crackers and stickers. And so you take a toddler and you put them next to an unfamiliar adult. So they don't know this person at all. And there's two levers to pull. And pulling lever one gives only the person who pulled the lever a sticker. And pulling lever two gives both people a sticker. So they put the toddler with the adult. The adult is instructed to just pull lever one consistently. So the toddler is watching this, and this person is taking all the stickers for themselves, not sharing anything. But they know what they could do. They could pull number two. And so then they turn it over to the toddler. And what does the toddler do? More often than not, they're pulling lever two. Despite watching this incredibly selfish behavior of someone they don't know, they're going to pull lever two more often because they want to share. And so they get a sticker, and their friend gets another sticker because they think everyone's a friend.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. I remember watching a video on LinkedIn of a little girl. The father was reprimanding the older son, and the little girl, she's a toddler, she went over and she got in the middle of them. And then she took her big brother with her because I think she was like, "You're not getting mad at him, Dad."
Yeah, they're amazing. And I think there's an important lesson, like getting back to what I like to talk about is what we learn from them. And so kindness, I think, is a really big lesson. It's the second chapter of my book. And I think maybe the most important. So, same thing for adults. If we were as kind as them, that would really get to our highest level of happiness. I'll just tell you one adult study very quickly. So, this is from the University of Chicago. People are given cash each day, and then they're just told to keep it. And over time, as people are receiving money, their happiness of receiving that money decreases over time. Then in the second group of people, they're told to donate that money to their favorite charity. And interestingly, those people who donate the money don't lose their happiness over time. And so you can see for adults, this giving is actually really much more important than we realize.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm in the counseling field, right? And I speak with my colleagues all the time, and we were discussing how actually helping others helps our mental health.
Yep.
It gets us out of our head
Hmm.
and it gets us thinking about others. And actually, we benefit from that. We benefit
Yeah.
from helping others, helps our mental health get better. I think it's like an esteem thing too, because now you feel more purposeful. You feel like
Hmm.
you are contributing. Whereas when you're
Yeah.
stuck in depression, in your head and isolating, it makes the mental health worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's incredible that just giving the charity, giving of your time,
Mhm.
serving
Mhm.
actually is a benefit for you, not just the other person or the other people, right?
It's an
So
incredible benefit, and you use the word contribution, and it's so true. If people recall the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like that very top of the pyramid is self-actualization. And the way we get there, there's two different things and two different types of well-being we have. We have hedonic and eudaimonic. Hedonic is when we buy something like I got a new car recently, and that made me happy for a little while, but now it's just any old car. And that's what happens over time. It goes down. But eudaimonic well-being is this sense of self-actualization, what we're talking about here of our purpose, our higher purpose, and we can only get there by giving, actually. And so giving, especially in the context of what toddlers can teach us about selfless giving to people who have been selfish to us, even in that context, is very, very powerful.
amazing. Okay, so tell us, like, do you know why kids like toddlers are so kind? Is
Yeah.
that like biological or where does that
Yeah.
come?
So some of it is evolutionary because we have evolved into beings who know that when we cooperate with others, we can get more food, shelter, etc. And so that's kind of programmed into little kids is this sense of building a relationship. And I always talk about their lives are focused on two things, building relationships and learning. All of these
Mm,
things that they do are focused on those things. They want to make those connections and they
right.
want to learn as much as possible. So yeah, I think it's biological. I think it's innate in them. I think it's the strongest when we're youngest, and it really shines through in everything they do. I do a lot of social media posts, and today my post was about this little girl. She's about 2 years old. She's sitting in a grocery cart going through Costco, and all she's doing is smiling and waving at people. Can you imagine, like an adult, if you just went around and smiled and a big smile and a wave at every single person you saw? But no one does that, but little kids do because they are so, so special and they don't get enough credit about not only how kind they are, but how much joy they bring to other people around them.
Yeah. They're just pure joy, aren't they?
Hmm.
It's
Truly, truly they
amazing.
are.
Oh, so good. All right. So maybe just like tell us some of the life lessons. I know kindness is one of them, but what are some
Hmm.
other life lessons that we can learn from toddlers?
There's so many. I think one of the most interesting ones that people don't think about nearly enough is self-talk. So I came across this when I was watching this YouTube video of Auburn Sage. She's a little snowboarder, and at the time she was 4 years old, and her dad just put a microphone on her and let her go down the hill. And so you can kind of hear what she's saying all the time. And as she's going down, she's telling herself, like, go down this secret path, heel slip to like slow herself down. She's making fun names for herself, like a Stegosaurus. She's dressed as a little dinosaur. She's really cute. And so as I got into this, I saw that little kids actually talk to themselves out loud a lot. And it's
Yeah.
called private speech, and they use it a lot in terms of getting things done, planning, trying to self-correct them when they're doing things. And if you translate that to adults, we actually don't talk to ourselves enough. I mean, we have this voice in our head that it's always kind of there, but this deliberate self-talk can really, really help us. And the key is actually to talk to ourselves in the second or third person. So if you put a bunch of adults in an MRI machine and you show them some like angry images of like, let's say a dog bearing down, and I was in the machine and I said, what am I feeling right now? And then I also said, what is Hassan feeling right now? The emotional reactivity part of our brain is much more decreased when we talk to ourselves in second and third person. And this is actually one of the superpowers we can use to help our own emotions. And so, one very practical tip, because we have a lot of negative self talk as adults that we can use this, is talk to yourself as if you're talking to a friend the next time you're down on yourself. And really use that, use your own name and talk to yourself that way. And you'll notice immediately the language completely changes.
That's so funny because I use that in counseling. When I'm
Mm,
counseling my teens, I would be like,
yeah.
what would your friend say to you? Or what
Yeah.
would you
Oh,
say to
good
your
point.
friend?
Yeah,
Right? What would you
exactly.
say to your friend?
Yeah.
It's so funny because then they stop and they actually think about it. Think about, wow, I'm really hard on myself. My
Mm-hmm.
friend would say this to me, right?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
wouldn't you believe that? Or I don't know, it's just that awareness piece is incredible. You know,
Yeah.
when you're looking from it from outside of yourself, right?
Right.
Your stuff, then you can get more perspective on it.
Definitely.
You're actually being unreasonable with yourself or you're thinking too
Mm-hmm.
negatively about
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your friend would be like, it's no big deal. It's okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they wouldn't use the words that or the names we call it ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's such a good lesson. I love that lesson.
Mm.
Um, anything else? What
Yeah,
else do
there's
you
so
have?
many. I have a lot. I This book has ten chapters, and each of them are I think important lessons. The other one I'll mention because it also gets kind of dropped off as we get older is reading. Like there's no toddler that doesn't have their own little library, that doesn't have their favorite book. They're
Yes,
always getting the adults around them to read them books. I mean, they just have this passion for reading because they love to learn. And there's so many
yes,
benefits from them. We know that there's, language development and learning different facts and the bonding with the parents and all of that. But this love and passion of reading falls off. And we can see this over time, like from toddler age to preschool. And, toddlers aren't reading in the traditional sense where they're like sounding out letters. That comes later when you're 6 or 7. But they just love books. They love holding books. They love going through stories. They can finish sentences. And
yeah,
then when you get preschool, you still have that love, and it kind of goes down in grade school and then high school. And then, by the time you're an adult, it's only a quarter of people who are reading regularly. Whereas in the early years, it's, 80, 90%. And
yeah,
so that I think is very important. Like we need to learn from them that reading is important and there's so many benefits for adults to read. I mean, not only are we learning facts, but if we're reading fiction, which I know a lot of people love and I do too sometimes, is we're learning about empathy in different people and how to look at things from
yeah.
their perspective and
Mhm.
bigger picture. And I think this is becoming more and more of a problem as we get older, is that we're getting a lot of dementia diagnoses, and we've all probably been touched by someone with dementia. And
Yes.
reading is one of the things we can do that is shown to be protective against dementia. And so that's, I think, another powerful lessons we need to learn
Wow.
from kids is like have a bedtime book and have a bedtime story and read at least, 15, 20 minutes. It is really helpful and also helps you sleep better because you're off your screen. So double benefit there.
Wow, that was so good. My mom has dementia. She's had it for
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 or 3 years. But that is
Sorry.
something like told her that we have to use our brains. If we don't
Yes.
use them, we lose them.
Yeah.
So even like just always learning something,
Yeah. Yeah. And
right?
it applies to learning new things too. Exactly. Books are one way, but there's a lot of different ways. You can take a class in something you've
Learning a
never done.
language,
Language is amazing. Yeah.
right? Here in Canada, I don't know, maybe in Ontario, but I know in BC, when you're a senior,
Hmm.
your post-secondary is free.
Oh,
So
really? I
yes,
don't know if we have.
in your
Yeah,
senior years, you can take classes at university. You could get your PhD or whatever.
that's amazing. I know we have discounted rates for sure. I don't think they're completely free though, but that's unbelievable. I love that.
Yeah, because then you're always learning, right? You're
Hmm.
always learning. So it's incredible. Um, you mentioned something uh that with kids. Okay, I was going to say this to you. I had a podcast guest. She specializes in um developing creative genius in kids, and
Hmm.
she coaches kids, right, to create to find their creative genius, right, and to foster it. And she was saying that in the early years, the toddler years, that is when we're at the highest degree of our creative genius. And
Yep.
then it just continues to get dumbed down as our kids get older and older and older. And she did say a lot of it has to do with our education system, right? Our education system does not foster creative genius and helping our kids to find out what is their gifts, right? What are their gifts that can be used to develop to foster their creative genius, right? So I just thought that was so fascinating. But in the world of toddler, everything is possible.
Hmm.
There's nothing that's impossible, right?
No, you can be a superhero, and they are superheroes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're living their best lives.
They are.
No,
They are. They're exactly that's I love that they're living their best lives and we just and we're not and we can learn from them because the way they live their best lives are some of the lessons we can take away from them, like taking the risks, having the confidence. I mean, their confidence is just off the charts. And getting back to that is incredible. I mean, I think we can never get exactly back to them, but there's so many things that they do right in the world, and that's I think doesn't get talked about nearly enough. So yeah, I
yeah.
appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, this podcast guest also said that we have to be careful with our language with our kids because some language will close creativity, and one word is saying no or
Hmm.
you can't. Those block creativity, right? Because in a
Yeah.
toddler's mind, everything's possible. So
And yeah.
we have to be careful that we're not saying those things.
Yeah, and we also have to be very careful we're not jumping in. Like if they're drawing something and they think that's what a house looks like, there's no reason to go in and correct that to the way you think a house looks like because they just need to explore and think and do things the way they want without us jumping in. So I'm actually a big advocate for a lot of things, but especially when they're being creative, is just being more hands off and
Yes.
letting them do their thing.
Don't direct them.
Yeah.
Let them color outside the lines. It's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever they want to do. Yeah, color on the
Right?
table, it's fine.
Yes, it's all good. So good, so good. Okay, so what advice, we got into it a little bit here, but what advice would you give to parents so that they can enjoy their toddlers more? I think parents sometimes find the toddler years so stressful. But what can we tell parents, or what can you advise that so that they can enjoy their toddlers more and recognize the gifts that they come with?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I mean, for me, I've never laughed more in my entire life as I did in these like 5 years I've had my daughter. If I put all the other years of my life combined, so I think that's certainly one way. They're like very, very funny people and they want to make you laugh. They're always trying to make other people around them laugh. That's one of the ways they connect. And we talked about building relationships. So I think really,
Mhm.
really laugh with them, make jokes. They really love that. If you look at the data, they're laughing twice as much as adults. They're very funny people, and they think a lot of things are funny. It does not take a lot to make them laugh. You can put any object on your head, and they will laugh. They're very, very special that way. So I think that's one thing. The other thing we talked about is tantrums, just putting them in context. Yes, they happen. Yes, they're challenging. I'm not saying parenting is not easy and it's hard if you're, with them full time because they have a lot of energy. But really, really just look at the time. It's hard. Time stretches when you're in those moments, but they are relatively short compared to the rest of the time they're doing other things. And yeah, I hope people will check out the book and the TEDx talk. And I have a lot more things I talk about because there's so many things we can just being around them makes I think makes our lives better. And but also there's some deep lessons of things we need to be doing more. So I think overall is just changing that mindset a little bit about being open to the things they're really good at and how might those things help us in our own lives.
Right. I just want to say, like, my reframe with parents about tantrums is, why are tantrums bad?
Hmm.
It's because society tells us it's bad, right? We're not allowed to
Hmm.
show emotion, that sort of thing. But we have to change that because tantrums are another way of expressing
Yeah.
how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that? Let them.
I
Let
like it.
them tantrum.
Hmm.
It's okay,
They
right?
don't have the vocabulary exactly. That's how they express themselves.
Yeah, it's just like crying. Like I remember as a new mom, I would always freak out when my oldest, when he was a baby, would be
Hmm.
crying. I'd be like, I gotta stop him from crying. But you
Hmm.
know what? Somebody needed to tell me it's okay. That's how they communicate.
Yeah,
They can cry.
exactly.
Let them cry,
Yeah, agree.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to reframe, I think. Oh, like I like what you say. It's only a short time that they tantrum. And then just the reframe right. It's no, there's nothing wrong with tantruming. It's actually good.
Hmm.
They're getting out their frustration, they're upset. They're getting it out.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you're right. Like, yeah, they shouldn't, yeah, mom, there shouldn't be any mom or dad guilt about those things. They happen sometimes in situations where other people are bothered, but that's okay. That's just who they are. And that's normal, a normal thing to do for them. That's fine.
Yeah, you don't need to care about what other people think, what
Hmm.
grandparents think when they're in the grocery store, what other people think. You don't need to care about what other people think.
Hmm.
All you need to care about is your child,
Yeah.
allowing them to express how they're feeling and being calm about it because it's okay, right? Just calm yourself down about it because
Yeah.
then your toddler will feel that and get
Yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Okay, I love
Hmm.
this conversation. Thank you so much. There were so many tidbits that you gave, but I like to do a little recap. So I'm just going to do a little recap for parents.
Sure.
Hanson said that there's so much to learn from toddlers, and we need to take the lessons, right? That they bring. One of them is kindness. They are extremely kind. And they have a love for life and they laugh and they live in the moment. We need to do that more, right? And they don't have the prefrontal cortex is not developed in the same way that it is with adults. And so they're looking at moment to moment. They're not looking down the road, right? So we have to remember that. And we need to live in the joy that they bring every day. And they also have a love for learning. And that's awesome. We have to have that love for learning as well. And then to put tantrums into context, they're only for a short time. So we don't have to get all worried about it. And it's their way to express. Um, and we need to enjoy them because this is a really, really special time in their development. Is that good, Nancy? Did I missed it? I know you went into a lot of detail, but is that a good summary?
That was great. And the other thing we talked about a little bit was self-talk and how important
Oh,
that is,
yes,
about how much they do it, and then how important that is for us to do as well, and take that very powerful lesson from them.
that was such a good eye-opening uh talk, like this that the self-talk that they give to themselves and their confidence is
Hmm.
so good, right? We can adopt that too. Oh, I now I want a toddler around.
I know. I'm very lucky that I get to work with them still, and yeah, they're
Oh,
they're just the best people to be around. You know, the most amazing thing, if your listeners haven't seen this, is a show called Old People's Home for 4-year-olds, and it's on YouTube. There's a bunch of clips. It's a UK show. It got picked up in Australia as well, and they just literally put a preschool age 4-year-olds in a nursing home, and you would just see like the happiest seniors who were lonely before just light up because those kids are just around and having them
I
dance and laugh. And yeah, I mean, there's no one else that can do that. There's no one else that can bring that much happiness to strangers as little kids can. And I just love that.
know they have so much joy. And also they have no bias or prejudice. So it doesn't matter what you look
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter what
Yes.
your inabilities are. They don't see
Yep.
that. They just
Very
see you.
important.
Oh, so good, so good. All right, please tell parents about your book, like where they can get
Hmm.
it. And maybe so the how if they want to reach out to you for other talks or anything, that
Yeah.
maybe I can share that.
For sure, the best way to find everything I do is my personal website, which is hasanmerali.com, HasanMerali. The book is called Sleep Well, Take Risks, Squish the Peas. It's available wherever you get books. It's also an ebook for those of you who prefer that. And it's also an audiobook for busy parents if you want to listen along. And it's available at most libraries, especially in Canada as well. You'll be able to pick it up there. And then the last thing I'll just mention, I do have a TEDx talk, which I gave at U of T last year. It's I think it summarizes some of the best topics here, and it got selected as an editor's pick, and so that's available on my website. But if you also find my name in YouTube, then you'll see it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Hanson. And thank you, parents, for joining today. I hope you got a lot out of the show, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.